Success to me is, I guess it really had to wrap with my motto, which is keep it positive. So I feel like for me, if I find something positive about each day, then that's a successful day. To me, when it all boiled down to it, it's just being happy. So each day where I find a little bit of happiness is a successful day.
Welcome to For the Long Run, the podcast exploring the why behind what keeps runners running long, strong, and motivated. I'm your host, Jonathan Levitt. Through personal and professional connections in the running world, I have the privilege of getting to know some amazing athletes. I've always been fascinated by the psychological aspect of running, and this podcast is aimed at exploring this and much more. I hope you enjoy. This episode is brought to you by SuperCoffee, the healthy, delicious alternative to sugary coffee drinks. SuperCoffee was recently named the fastest growing food and beverage brand in America by Inc. magazine, and after tasting a bunch of their flavors, I can see why. Their coffees contain zero sugar, and many of them contain 10 grams of plant-based protein. They're growing in popularity in the running community, and I'm excited to share a special discount with you. They offer a 60-day money-back guarantee, meaning if you don't love it, you get your money back, no questions asked. Grab 15% online with the code FTLR, or look for them nationwide in 25,000 stores like Target, Whole Foods, Walmart, Kroger, and CVS. Cheers. Welcome back. I have Shawanna White joining me on the podcast today. Shawanna, thanks so much for taking some time to chat.
Thank you for having me here. I'm excited to be here.
Of course. So first question is always a tough one. Who is Shawanna?
Yeah, that's a good question. I listen to this podcast, so I hear this question a lot. So I was thinking about this question, and one day I was actually going to post about this question, but I was like, you know what? Maybe I should wait because maybe I'll do this podcast one day. Who knows? But okay, so Shawanna is a human and a runner, and a woman, sorry, a human and a woman. And I identify as a positive person, a runner, a PE teacher, and a caring person.
I love it. Well, it's always fun when people who listen to the podcast hear this question and then get asked it themselves. So excited that as a listener now you get to answer it. So given this is a running podcast, let's set this foundation of you as a runner. I know you mentioned a handful of other attributes and qualities there. So to set the stage, do you remember your first run?
Yeah, well, my first run was actually as a child. I was a pretty active child. I always went outside and played. And so I was going outside and play. We used to have races, but my formal introduction to running took place in high school when my high school coach asked me to come out for the track team. And that very first run was actually in the hallways of my high school because it was too cold to go outside. I can't remember what the temperature was, but it was too cold. So our first run was in the hallway. So that was my first run, you know.
And what was that like?
It was pretty exciting. I mean, I didn't really know what I was doing. As usual, I ran the first one too fast and I struggled to finish, but I was just really excited to be a part of a team and was able to meet some new people. And it also helped me to get out of my shell because in high school, I was very shy and I also just had a difficult time in high school because kids used to tease me because of my size. But when I started running track and I started excelling in track, I became one of the popular kids on campus.
So at what point did you realize that you were good?
That is a good question.
Or fast?
Well, I wouldn't necessarily call it fast because, you know, fast were the people who was running the 100 and 200. I was stuck in the 800 to 1600 and 3200, and I didn't quite understand that, and nor did my family. But I think maybe the first race when I realized that I was pretty good was at the city championship. So the city championship because originally I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. So that's all the Atlanta public school system schools. They have this race, and I actually placed first in the race because all the other races throughout the week when we went and ran at the invitationals, I would come like fifth or sixth. But when I placed first in that, that gave me a confident boost. And so over the summer, I started working hard, and then I started doing well at the invitationals as well. And I think my senior year, not my senior year, my junior year, I ended up actually qualifying for state. So
And how did that how did it go from high school to college to where you're at today? What talk to me about that journey?
okay, well, for college, I went to the University of West Georgia because at the time I thought I wanted to be close to home. And so that school was only an hour away. But I didn't know that when you ran cross country, that even when you didn't have races, that you had to stay on campus to train. So I was like, wow, well, I guess I could have went to an out of state school, but I really enjoyed my time at West Georgia. So it was a good time. And so after college, um, I actually took a break from running. Like, I think I stopped running for about 4 years or something. And then I started back running when I started to coach my youth team in Georgia because I was actually inspired by them to lace up my shoes again. And so I was like, these kids are working hard, and I still had these crazy dreams. I mean, some of them were a little bit too crazy, but once I started realizing and understanding the sport, I started changing those dreams a little bit because I remember when I went to West Georgia, I told the coach that I wanted to go to the Olympics. I had no idea what I was talking about. But now that goal is just to qualify for the trials. But after that, after getting inspired by seeing my track team, I started back running 5K. And so at that point, I was seeking out different groups that I could train with in Atlanta. And so I found this group called the Striders, and it was actually an African American group. And so two young men, or yeah, it was young men at the time. They took me under their wing, and I started training with them, and they told me, you should strive to get on the Atlanta Track Club team. And so I made that a goal to get on a competitive team. Now they have an elite team, but at the time they had a competitive team. And so I joined that team, and then the rest is history. I've been just running on.
I love it. You're the second person in the last couple of weeks who has commented about kids being a motivation. Tansy Lystad was on a couple of weeks ago and talked about how she draws motivation from high school cross country kids who just like rip it, and you just see like it's such incredible performances because they just don't know how to control themselves, and they just go so hard. And yeah, maybe that's a little overboard, but um, it's it's fun to see that side of the sport, and it's fun to see higher end athletes drawing motivation from kids.
Yes. Like, I remember when I was coaching my one athlete, because I was coaching ages 5 through 13. And it's like the younger ones, they're so mature, and they're more accepting of the pain. So the little ones were actually like encouraging the older ones. And so that was so exciting to see. I mean, because like the way that we were coaching our athletes, we weren't coaching them to try to win races. We were coaching them to try to improve or try to be the best version of themselves. Because the way I used to put it to the kids, that if you get faster, or if you can jump further, or if you can throw further, eventually, maybe that may lead to being on a podium. But if not, guess what? You're still becoming a better you, and that's what you need to focus on. So, like, my job as a coach when I was coaching was to instill the love for the sport. And then being that my expertise, I was coaching a distance runner. So my school was African American in Georgia. So my goal was to try to inspire African American kids to, get into distance. Because one of the, when we used to have our parent meeting, we used to always explain to the parents that, don't get upset if your kids are running this event. Like me and the other coach, we actually sat down after we watched the kids, and because we do like all these different time trials, and then we determine which group we're going to put the kids in. But we got the kids so excited that kids that were sprinters were wanting to get in my group. So it was like we made distance running look cool. So, and that was the point that I was trying to do when I was coaching, to make it look cool so kids would want to do it, because the perception is to be a sprinter and not a distance runner, or middle distance is what they did, because they didn't run over the 800. No, they did the 1600. So yeah.
It's funny how context is everything, right? Like 800 feels long, but to a 5K or marathoner, that's just a pain train, a very brief pain train.
Yes, the 800 is brutal. I want no part of that. I mean, the 5K itself feels like a sprint.
Yes. So talk to me about, you said at one point you had these crazy goals of making the Olympics or making podiums, and then you achieved this goal of getting on the team with the Atlanta Track Club. What fueled that desire to get the best out of yourself? What was it about the Olympics or the Olympic trials or making this team that like why did you want to do it?
Well, for the Atlanta Track Club team, the only reason I really had the desire is because of Cliff and John Davis. They were the one who exposed me to the team, because I had no idea about a team that you could be a part of, because I thought that, after college, if you wasn't running a certain time, that there's no place for you. So by them telling me about that, it excited me, because they believe in me. They believe that I can make this team. And so that gave me all the confidence to strive for that goal. Now, for wise the Olympics, I think I just got excited about the Olympics because in 1996, the Olympics
Oh, it
were
was
in
in
Atlanta,
Atlanta, yeah.
and I had the opportunity to work at the volleyball game, and then, you know, and so the track and all that stuff. So I was just like, I just saw the Olympics when I was younger, and I just thought, oh, I want to make the Olympics. But like I said, later that changed to wanting to like qualify for the marathon Olympic trials, not to qualify for the Olympics, because that's a little too crazy. But to qualify for the Olympic trials, I think that's still a bit scary goal, because I still haven't achieved it. But that's well. And how did I get that goal? That is a good question. Oh, I got that goal from one of my old coaches, because, like, again, I didn't even know anything about the Olympic marathon trials until my coach told me. My old coach told me after I ran 2:52 in the marathon at the City of Oaks Marathon in Raleigh. He was like, "You can qualify for the trials," and I was like, "What is that?" And so, he told me about it. And ever since then, that was like in 2012. Yeah, 2012. I've been trying to chase that chase that dream. I mean, I had some obstacles in the way. I really thought I was going to have an opportunity to try to go for that goal in 2016, but then I had hip surgery, so that pushed things back. And then I tried again in 2020, and I missed it by 19 seconds. Yeah, 19 seconds. So that just let me know that on the right day, that if that time is still the time for 2024, that I can get that time. But I think, Jonathan, all my goals have came from, like, when it for the Olympics, that was just me just seeing the Olympics. But to try to qualify for the trials, I mean, that came from another coach that thought I could do it, and then I started to believe that I can do it, and now,
Isn't it
yeah.
cool? Isn't it cool how that works? Like my coach has more confidence in my own ability than I do. So I ran a 2:59 in 2019, and he was like, "Great, let's touch the 2:40s." And I was like, "Are you kidding me?" And that was a 20-minute PR. And he's like, "Yeah, of course. No, I'm not kidding you. Of course you can do it." And it's just like, what does it mean to have that kind of, because I know what it means for me. but I'm curious what it means for you to have somebody who believes in you that much to push you to set, as you called it, this big scary goal of um, breaking 245 and breaking 243 and continuing to, you ran 252 and he said you could take another 10 minutes. That's a lot of time for you sub 3. So what does that mean for you?
I think having somebody believing in you, it, again, it's like wow, I can't. It's unbelievable that somebody would think that I'm capable of doing X, Y, Z. Like just to think that I had no idea what running was, and I mean, I don't know. I can't really describe it. Like it makes me feel good, and it just boosts my confidence and make me even more happier to even try to go to that goal. And it's like now to the fact that people believing in me throughout all the years, now I have that confidence myself that I don't really need anybody to believe that I can do XYZ now because of all the people in the past who have put all that confidence in me that now it just comes from within. So I'm thankful for them for boosting me up for now, I can get everything I need from me.
Is that why you coach and work with kids?
Well, yeah. Well, I don't coach anymore because I'm being a little selfish. But I'm keeping it real. I'm kind of like focusing on my running right now, and then I'm gonna get back to coaching one day. Because when I was coaching, it was very long days. I feel like I was just doing so much, and I mean, I was doing well with it, but I was like, I really want to just have some time for myself. But what was that second part of that question?
Well, the second part was, is that why you coach and work with kids?
Oh, now with the PE, oh my goodness. Like for PE, I teach PE because I feel like kids these days in these times are not as active as I was when I was a child. Like I remember seeing kids in the streets, like right now, looking out this window, and I don't see any kids running up and down the street. Like literally, when I was a child, we were outside until the street lights came on. And
Yeah.
like my had to beg me to come back inside. Like you do not see that in this day and time. Like so that's one of my main reasons of becoming a PE teacher because I want to encourage kids to stay active and put those video games down.
Very cool. I love that.
Sometimes they still can play them, but not
Yeah.
every
So
second.
so every time I've put out a call for people to suggest guests, your name has come up a handful of times. And
Really?
this last time, um, I had I we were already following each other, and I said, actually, great idea. Let's chat. Um, so I'm curious. It seems like you've got a pretty strong and pretty strong following on social, and people seem to love you. So what does the running community mean for you? What is that community to you?
The running community to me, I love the running community. I mean, I know sometimes I don't know, but I love it. Like it's a welcoming community overall. I mean, I really haven't had too many. I haven't had any. Well, I can't say I didn't have any bad experience, but this one experience. But besides that one experience, like everybody's been welcoming and loving, and like I just love like how you can just go on a run with somebody and you can just talk about anything. And I mean, like running is what brings us together. And like I always think like if the world in some cases focus the way runners focus, then the world would be a better place. So the running community, they like I feel like any community that I have been a part of always made me feel welcome, loved, and they always been there for me any time of need. So, I love them a ton. I don't know if I quite
Yeah,
answered.
no, it did. I agree. It's like the kind of thing where you can go anywhere and meet up with someone, and you're like their best friend by mile 5, and like divulging your deepest, darkest secrets and what you talk about in therapy and what you talk about, with the people closest to you, and like you just met this person and it's just like totally normal.
Yeah. I just remember going on so many runs and just, we're just talking about everything. And they learn everything about me and I learn everything about them.
Talk to me about the Atlanta running community. I know Atlanta was in the spotlight last February and March for the Olympic trials and shined, of course. But talk to me
Yeah.
about what it's like outside of when the spotlight was on.
I think it's pretty much the same. I mean, it was magnified to a higher level, but you think about the big race like the Peachtree Road Race, there are a lot of people out there cheering you on and while you're running, but I mean, not as the magnitude as the Olympic trials. Like, I mean, I have seen some big crowds in Atlanta come out for races, but that was pretty amazing. I was like, wow. But overall, the community, it's a good community. Like there's so many different groups, and now I mean, I haven't lived in Atlanta for the last 6 years, but when I was living there were still a lot of groups, and now it's just so many groups and so many different organizations that you can be a part of. And Atlanta Track Club, they always have done amazing things for the sport and for races, and they always, I mean, before COVID, there was almost a race every weekend that was put on by Atlanta Track Club, and like in Atlanta, there's never a loss for races. Like there's always a race every single weekend. So
Very cool. Yeah, I hope we can get back. Peachtree has always been on my list, and I want to get down there one time or many times. Switching gears a little bit, your Instagram bio reads sixth fastest U.S. born Black marathoner with a 2:45:19. Talk to me about what that means to you to be so high on a prestigious list like that. Um, how does that feel?
I mean, it feels it's like an honor to be on that list, but then at the same time, is how can I say it's surprising. Well, not really surprising, but it just made me realize. I mean, I'm honored and I'm happy, but I wish there were more. Like I would never ever expected me to be on a list of that prestige of a list. So I'm honored, and but at the same time, I wish that there could be more and that we can elevate and have faster times because I think African American born females are very capable of running well at the distance at the marathon in particular. Like right now, we have Peyton Thomas, who is, I think she's like number 4, and she ran in Olympic trials. Like, I really think people like her and people behind her are going to really take that list to a new level. And I hope they do. But I would love to move up some spots as well.
Um, so to your point, so I had Sabrina De La Cruz on the podcast recently, and she is a part of the new Brooks Running sponsored team, Angel City Elite, whose mission it is to increase diversity in the sport. One of her comments on the podcast was that the Olympic trials were 95% white, and she didn't see very many people who looked like her on the starting line. And so she's made it her goal to, in the future, be able to look around and see more people that look like her and to show that, like, this is something that we can do. And we, as in she and her community, and me as in my community, and our community, like, how do we push this forward? So do you feel like by going out and racing and being public on Instagram and whatnot that you're helping to drive that mission forward? And yeah, we'll start there.
Oh yeah, I believe so, Jonathan, because I have two stories that is kind of cool, and it makes me feel like that I'm actually making an impact. One lady, yeah, one young lady, I can't pronounce her name, but on Strava, during Black History Month, she actually dedicated a run to different black African American females on that list, and like she included me. So it's and she's a distance runner herself. So I know there are little black girls out there and little black boys out there who are seeing me running the races and seeing me on social media. So I'm actually, doing what I want to do to aspire African American females and males to run distance. And then another story is like my one good friend Angela. She actually was searching because she, for that same reason, like Sabrina stated, she wanted to see people who looked like her in the sport of distance running. And so she looked out and she found that list, and then she just shoot me a DM on Instagram. And to this day, we are good friends, and I still like encourage her to keep running and keep trying because she thought it was so cool to see an African American female out there running distance and exceeding, and like in the small local races coming in the top, because you don't see that. And like most people, when they see me at a start line, they most of the time they think I'm a Kenyan. I remember one race, it was two white women. They was talking, and I was actually standing by a Kenyan, and they was like, I don't think they speak American. I mean, speak English. And I turned around. I was like, I'm American, and they were really shocked, because I mean, it's not right, but I can understand where they're coming from because when you see black people who are running, who are doing well at distance runner, they are from Kenya. They are from Kenya and from Ethiopia. You don't really see that many blacks here from America that are running distance running. I mean, yeah, running distance. So I think by having a presence on social media and going to the races and running well, I think I am encouraging the next generation. And any person of color that I see at races, I make sure I try to speak to them. I mean, again, it's just like a lot of people say when African American people see each other out on the race, they're like so encouraging, especially the back in the pack runners. Like when they see me, they're like so excited and they're like, yay, go, go, go. And like even those people in the back, like now they want to try to get to the front too. So yeah.
I love that. One of the things that I've missed in the last year of podcasting has been the ability to see somebody's face when they're talking. And although the listeners can't see Shawanna's face right now, I promise you she's beaming and is very proud of what she's saying, which is super cool to see. Yeah, I think that it's the kind of thing where last year we noticed that, or people started finally realizing that we were, like, people like myself, part of the problem. Like, I looked at my podcast guest list, and Alafine was the first black runner I had as episode 59. And I think that is true. She was either the first or the second, but that was episode 59. And again, it's not like an intentional thing that was done. Um, but it's this awareness that, like, we simply must be better
Hmm.
so that everybody can be better.
Yeah.
And I think that um, I don't want to speak for anyone, but I feel like the awareness is there, and now we need to actually do something about it. And so by having this presence on social media, I can only imagine what people are thinking when they see you for the first time, and they see, oh, I can do that too. And I think that's awesome. I had, yeah, Sabrina talked at length about it. I had Rajpal Panu on the podcast. He said, when I'm he's a trail and ultra runner, or he's an ultra runner who runs roads. Um, and he said, when I'm on the start line, I add a little more color in every sense of the word. And I want he's first generation Indian, and he's like, I want people to see me on the start line and know that they can be just like me. They can do it too. And I think as a podcaster, and for those of us who are, have the ability to link runners to larger audiences, like, we have a responsibility to do these kinds of things. and to have that awareness that we need to just be better. So thank you for doing what you do, and being so open about you and your story, and continuing to inspire and elevate everybody.
Yeah, like, you know, I think when me, it was, I was thinking about, I don't even know where I'm going with this. Oh, I went to this birthday party this weekend, and one of my friends messaged me and she was like, "Are you coming?" I was like, "I don't know," because I looked at the guest list, and I was like, it's all Team Utopia, which is a running team here in South Carolina. And then I started to think, I was like, you know what? I am going because, I'm part of everybody's team, even though I'm not officially a teammate, because I feel like as a runner, I try to interact with all people, and I think I don't even know where I'm going with this. Why did I go on this tangent? I don't even know.
Birthday parties. I miss birthday parties. That's all I picked up.
But it was an outdoor birthday party at a brewery. But I don't even know what that to stress that. I don't even know what.
I love it. The beers are still having an impact. Thanks again to SuperCoffee for supporting this episode. I have been loving their French vanilla and hazelnut flavors and the cold brew cans. SuperCoffee combines the caffeine from 2 cups of coffee with protein and healthy fats to give you hours of focused energy with no jitters or crash. I love it as a strong start to the day. Receive 15% off of your purchase at drinksupercoffee.com/FTLR or use the code FTLR at checkout. I recommend trying one of their variety packs or bundles. If you give it a try, let me know what you think. And now back to our conversation. Switching gears, what does success mean to you?
That's a good question. Success to me is, I guess it really had to wrap with my motto, which is keep it positive. So I feel like for me, each day, if I find something positive about each day, then that's a successful day. Or also where each day where I'm able to do something to make me a better person, such as like running. I feel like running makes me a better person. Listening to people make me a better person. I mean, success is just, to me, when it all boils down to it, it's just being happy. So each day where I can find a little bit of happiness is a successful day.
It's interesting that your answer is not tangible. It's not break 245. It's not qualify for the Olympic trials. It's get better, be happy, do things that make me smile on a daily basis. And the reason that I'm sort of reflecting on that is I've asked this question at least 50 times now, and the mark of not the mark of success. Like most people who objectively have achieved anything, like they're a professional athlete or they've set a record or whatever, like they are focused on this process versus I want to win the Olympics or I want to BQ or I want to do that. Like what happens when you achieve that goal? Then what is success? And then what is like these can be steps along the way that are indicators of trending. But I mean, everyone's different, but I think that from a long-term perspective, it's just growth, right? It's
Yeah.
growth versus outcome.
Yeah.
So my next question is, has it always been that way for you, or have you had a more of a narrow focus in the past?
Yeah, I would say no, it has not always it has not always been that way for me. I think back in the day I used to tie my success to, especially with running, to achieving this goal or achieving this time, or sometimes when achieving this time or coming in a certain place. But I think as I, you know, grew up, or as I mature as an adult, I learned that those things aren't as important to being happy, because what I found on later on with me as a person, if I am at my happiest, then I'm going to run better. I'm going to be a better friend. I'm going to be a better teacher. But the moment when I'm not happy or something else is going on in my life to, make me unbalanced, then it's going to reflect. Mostly, it's going to reflect in my running. It's not going to reflect in my work, because I know as a teacher, I have to be professional and I have to be there for my students. So, regardless of what else is going on in my life, I got to be right and I got to bring it 100% for my kids. But, when something else is off kilter in my life, you can see it in my running, because like I have to be happy in order to achieve anything. Because if I'm not happy, then I'm not going to be able to strive for XYZ. And also, with as growing, I just realized that sometimes, you're not going to always achieve your goals, and that's okay. But as long as you gave 100% effort, you can find the joy in that. So, finding something to be happy about, finding the good in all situations is been the key for me now. I cannot, again, that has not always been the situation, because I remember one time I was so upset about a race result that I just sat in the middle row and just cried. And like now, I'm to a point where I remember Zika Henry, which is a person you should have on your podcast. I remember when I ran the One City Marathon, and when I ran that 2:45:19, she looked at me in the eye and she was like, Shawanna, why aren't you crying? You know, why aren't you upset? You missed the standard. And I was like, I can't be upset, because I just ran my fastest marathon ever in my life. Like, something to be happy about. Sure, I didn't get the 2:45, but 2:45, but that's okay, because I did my best and I ran my fastest, and I'm happy with that. And I tried hard, so that's how the cook.
I think that's the healthiest way to go about it, right?
Yeah,
When you're in this state of mind, you will keep getting better. And I forget who said it on the podcast, but breakthroughs only happen when you're at peace and in this place of like, this is not a test, this is a celebration. And sure, that's one thing for amateurs to say when it's not our job to perform. But episode 1 of the podcast with Ben Rosario, he talked to me about talking to Scott Fauble prior to New York City Marathon and other athletes prior to their marathons, and they never talk about placing. They always talk about executing. And how do you get the best out of yourself on the day so that you can be proud of your result and so that you can get the best out of yourself on the day?
yeah,
And I think that hearing that over and over again, like I've referenced that conversation 10 times now, probably, is helpful, right? Like, this is a professional athlete who gets paid to compete and win. And the coach is saying, execute, don't win. If you execute, maybe you'll win, but that's not the main goal.
yeah, exactly. I mean, it's all like you said. It's all about getting the best out of yourself on that day. And if you know that you ran that race and you did the best you can, you got to be happy with whatever time is on the clock. And I mean, another thing with NAZ Elite Group, they're not really always focusing on time. They're always focusing about train hard, race fearlessly. So I think that's a good model to have. Like, just go in there, race the competition, and whatever time you get, be happy with that. Like, and that's how it is for me with all my races now. Like, at first I used to get upset about a certain time on the clock, but not anymore. I mean, it's just like last weekend, I got lost in a race and I was pretty sure that I was on pace to break the state record in my age group. I mean, I didn't know because I forgot my watch too. So, but I could feel, I just felt it, Jonathan. I felt like I was on pace. And then next thing I know, volunteers sent me this way. And then next thing I know, I'm running so fast, I run past the turn for the finish. And I was, it's like, all I can do is laugh and like, man, I can't get this course right to save the life of me. And the second year, I got lost on the same course. So I'm like, you know what? I'll come back next year and hopefully a third time is a charm and I get it right. At this point, I just laugh at myself when I do things like that. I got a streak going because I got lost the week before. So, you know,
So
I don't want to keep this streak alive.
I gotta ask about how you got to that. So I ran a 5K in 2015, and I was in the lead pack, and the cop took a wrong turn and sent us. It didn't turn early enough, and so I'm looking at mile 2.8, 2.9 on my watch, and the finish line is nowhere to be found. And I'm also like, if I finish soon, I'm gonna PR. And I didn't. I ran 3.5 miles and obviously didn't PR because there was no kick available. So, and I was pissed off for like weeks about that. I was like, I ran the race of my life. This would have been a PR by 10 seconds in the 5K. And I was like bitter, and I like took to social media about it. Probably still find that there was a hilarious post at the end. I'll have to send you the photo. It's three dudes. Everybody's got their head down and
Okay.
just like looking like they're completely spent because we ran a 3.5 mile 5K. Anyway, um, how did you get to that place of acceptance that like, it's funny that I took a wrong turn, not I'm pissed off and screw that person for sending me the wrong way.
Yeah, I think, and this go back to one of my coaches that I had, Orenthal Struggles, like, back through that process. He was my coach at the time when I used to always have these meltdowns over races. And one of his favorites quote, he would always say, "What would the man with no legs say? About you crying or getting upset about this." So I think over time, I just grew as a person where now anything that happened in a race, I'm okay with it because, I'm able to find some good in it. I mean, I'm able to laugh at it too because I mean, getting lost is just like, well, okay, when is this going to stop? But, in the case of last weekend, I pretty much just laugh at myself. But now the week before that, now I did go through some thoughts where I was like, you know what? Maybe I just need to go to the finish line because at that time I was running a half marathon. And, I had my watch on that day. And I was looking at my watch and I was like, wow, the course says 6 and I'm already at 7. And so I'm knowing in my mind I'm about to get ready to run 14 miles for a 13-mile race. And, my one friend, Ruby, I don't know if you had her on your podcast. I think you did. Yeah. Ruby
From
Miles.
the UK? Yeah.
Yeah. Um, she stated fast girl, well, for my last thing about fast girl problems, because in these small races, that's the time that I get lost because there's not people around me and I'm up leading the race, and that's not a good thing. And so, in that race, I was just telling myself to get to the finish line. I can finish this race. It may not be my fastest, but you know what? You gotta finish this race. You gotta run for all the people who wish they could run because some people are injured. I was thinking about my friends. I was like, I just gotta do it for them. And it's gonna be 14 miles, but it's okay. And it's probably gonna be a little slower, but that's all right too. I mean, I just need to get to the finish line because making it to each finish line, that's a celebration within itself. So, you know,
Is is gratitude something you practice intentionally?
yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know if I practice it intentionally, but I think every day at some point I think about the things that I'm thankful for, you know. So I don't think I do it intentionally, but I feel like, I'm just a thankful person. I don't know if that's a practice, but I try to, be thankful for everything I have because, at I don't think at any given moment, but there's so many people out there who don't have what I have. And, I was thinking about a conversation that I was having with my friend, and um, she was talking about the things that she didn't have, like a house or whatever. And I was like, those things aren't important as long as you have somewhere to live and you're happy and you have friends and you have family. All the other material things are not as important. Like your happiness is something to be, that's something you need to be grateful for just to be here. Like, so I don't know if I just practice or it's just in me now. I don't know.
That's awesome.
I don't write any lists anything, but I do think about the things that I'm thankful for, and just being able to run. So I don't think I practice it. I don't write any lists or anything, but I just try to think about all the things that I'm grateful for. And when things are, especially when things are not going my way, that's when I start to think. Like that race, for instance, it was not going my way, so I start, just think about the things that I can do and the things that.
Control the controllables.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. What would you tell Shawanna of 10 years ago?
10 years. Oh, that would be 31. Um, what was the 31-year-old doing? Oh, that's probably was doing my crying pain or something.
So what would you tell her?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, but I feel like I needed to go through that in order to grow as a person. But one thing I would just tell her, just not to get so caught up on the times and just focus on the process, and just, go back to that gratitude and be thankful for being able to run, because, being able to run, that truly is a gift. And, if I was thinking as a 31-year-old, because my grandmother, she raised me, she used to tell me that, you know I mean, she didn't give me too many details, but I mean, the only thing she did was show me these pictures, that there was a point where there was a chance that I wasn't going to be able to walk or write, because as you see, my hands are so weird, and like I did all these tests to try to figure out what was wrong, but every test that the doctor did came back. What is a good thing? Oh, you want to be negative? Wait, no, positive. Wait, positive in him? I don't know. But I don't even know where I was going with this. I just lost my thought.
That you needed to. You were saying your grandma was telling you or showing you photos.
Oh yeah, she was showing me photos that that at one point the doctors, I had to wear special shoes in order to be able to walk. So I would just tell that 31-year-old just to be thankful to be able to run, and not to get upset when she didn't, run a exact time, because I think that was my major problem when I was in my 30s, is that, I was so caught up into the times and having to run a certain time that, I just forgot to just love the process of running, and that how much running has made me a better person and a stronger person and a more confident person and outgoing person. Because I tell you, like, some people in high school were like shocked, like, wow, you are a total different person from when you was in high school. You know, like I think I'm a fun person to be around. So, you know, so those are the things that I would tell her, like, running made you a better person. So just be happy with each run and find the good in every single run.
Awesome. I think that's a good place to wrap. Find the good in every single run. If people would like to follow you on social media, where can they find you in your journey?
The best place to find me is on the Instagram, at Peach Runner 26.2, because I love to run marathons.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for taking some time to chat, and hope to see you out at a race sometime this year.
All right. Thank you so much, Jonathan, for having me on.
Of course. That's it for today's episode. Like many long runs, it's sad when it has to end. I hope you join in next time on For the Long Run, and in the meantime, happy trails. If you enjoyed this episode, it would mean a lot to me if you shared it so that others can find it and enjoy it too.